Okay, we are on Keilim Perik Yud Mishnah Zayin, 7th Mishnah in the 10th chapter Masechet Keilim. We're almost actually at the end of the chapters that deal with Tumat Cheres. Only two more Mishnayot. Very interesting Mishnah. The Mishnah is going to talk about the comparison between what's called Tumat Kli, which is what we've been talking about, and Tumat ohel. Ohel, tent, but it literally means structure. Okay, so if you have a structure, imagine this tent is closed. Okay, so now ohel, okay, in order for something to be an ohel, it has to be what's called the minimum size of a structure. It has to be what has potech tepach. We're going to learn it has to have this much air, this much space in it. And if it is a structure that has that much space in it, it's called an ohel. And in order to have too much ohel, okay, it doesn't have to be closed necessarily. It can have a tefach space on it. Think about like a covering, an awning, a roof or whatever. Okay, and then hava'at, does it bring tuma? Yes, if you have an ohel, it's mevi et tuma, meaning if there's something inside of it. So if you have tuma, if you have a skull inside the ohel, or let's say here, I'm in a room. Okay, so if I have this jug in the same room, the roof here is an ohel in the room, and it's mevi et tuma. It transfers tuma into the air, and it brings tuma into everything. Now, it's also chotzeitz min hatuma. Chotzeitz means it stops the tuma. So therefore, it can stop the tuma. If you close this tent up, you have an ohel, even though you're inside another ohel, it's chotzetz. No, it's not inside. This jug is not inside this room. It's inside this ohel. That's what it means. It's meviat tuma. It can bring tuma for them together, and it can be chotzetz min hatuma. It can also stop. It can also be a barrier for. It can also be a barrier for tuma. Let me move myself over here. What about keilim? So we've learned keilim are mivi'im et tuma, right? If you have a jug here, you're going to put this in. I don't know. You put it in here, right? You can, if you put it together, you can be mevi tuma, but it's not chotzeitz mipnei tuma. The only way it could be chotzeitz. So let's say I put the jug inside here, all right, theoretically, and then I covered it over. So now the only way it can be chotzeitz if there's a tzamid patil. If I just put a cover on it like that, that doesn't work. That's not a tzamid patil. Remember, so you have to smear it, etc., etc. So if I wanted to protect my jug, I'd have to do a tzamid patil. But if I don't do a tzamid patil, it's not chotzeitz. That's the topic of our Mishnah, the distinction between tumat kli and tumat ohel. And the way the Mishnah makes this distinction, I hope that's clear. There's a difference between ohel and kli. Ohel, I mean, it doesn't have to be an actual tent. You get it. It's a structure. Anyhow, the Mishnah says, if I have what's called the tanur yashan, a tanur yashan is simply if I have a tanur, an oven that's been fired, that's been warmed up, that's been heated up, so therefore it's now hard. A tanur chadash, they made the oven, but they didn't warm it up yet. So since it hasn't been husak, it hasn't been fired yet. Therefore, it's not. It doesn't have the din of a kli. Rather, it's a structure. In the end, it has the din of ohel. Okay, so I have a tanur yashan, a kli, inside a tanur chadash, inside an ohel. And then the Mishnah says, usreida al pi yashan. And I have a beam or a board. Okay, I have a board on over the yashan, over the old one. So therefore, in essence, what I have is, look at this. I have a kli inside, a yashan inside an ohel, but I only have a covering over the kli, not a covering over the ohel. Hope that's clear. So the Mishnah says, I'm going to move myself back over so I don't block my beautiful picture. So the Mishnah says, tanur yashan, a kli, bitoch hachadash, inside an ohel, usreida al pi yashan. I have the beam over the yashan, over the kli, not the ohel. Nital hayashan, if I would take away the yashan, usreida nofele, if it's instructed in such a way that if I would take away the yashan, then if I took away the kli, then the board would fall off. Hakol tameh. Okay, now this whole thing is now inside a house where there's tuma. It's inside a room where there's tuma. So therefore, if I want to know, is this the whole thing tahor or tameh? So if I would take away this yashan, if I would take away this, the whole thing would fall. So therefore, meaning this Reda is not covering over the whole thing. Therefore, the whole thing is tameh. Why? Because remember, this is a kli, and that's not a tzamid patil. Now, on the other end, though, if it was covering over the entire thing, okay, in such a way that it wouldn't fall, here we go. If it's covering over the entire thing, where if I took this away, if I took the kli away, nonetheless, it would still stay structured. It's totally closed. Even though it's not a tzamid patil, nonetheless, this doesn't have a din of a kli. It has a din of an ohel. And since it has a din of an ohel, it doesn't require tzamid patil. And that's why the Mishnah says, im la, if not. If when I took away the yashan, this reida would still remain hakol tahor. It's all tahor. Why? Because as we learned, because it's like it's in an ohel. And an ohel is chotzeitz mipnei tumah. Tumah is here, you're in the house of a tumah, but it's in an ohel. And therefore, that would still be okay. Next case, the other way around. Chadash b'toch hayashan. Okay, the yashan is the kli, so you have the ohel inside the kli. Usreida al pi hayashan, and this reida is between the yashan. This reida is over the whole thing. Im ein ben chadash reida poteach tefach. So if there isn't a potech tefach, if there's no space, if there isn't a tefach between the space between the chadash and the reida, remember the chadash is not the kli. You have an ohel inside a kli, and this reida al pi hayashan. Im ein ben chadash reida poteach tefach. If there isn't a tefach space, kol shebechadash tahor. Let's see it in a second here. Okay, here you have the chadash, the ohel inside the kli, and you have this reida. So even though there's space here, it doesn't have to be at tzamid patil. If there's less than the space of a tefach, this much over here, so this structure has the din of an ohel, and whatever's inside here, the ohel is chotzeitz mipnei tumah. Let's go back to our chart for a second. The ohel is chotzeitz mipnei tumah, blocks the tumah, and therefore anything inside of here would be tahor. Hope that's clear. We'll stop here, dedicate our to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.